Welcome everyone to the Modern Merchant Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Merrier, CEO of Flxpoint. Today we have Alexander, CEO of All Security.
Hey, thanks. I'm happy to be here. We've been working quite a while with you guys, so happy to to discuss everything about Flxpoint.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'd love to kick it off with really kind of just understand more about allsecurityequipment.com, what you guys do, quick overview of the company. Love to learn more.
Yeah, so All Security Equipment, I actually acquired the company about 3 years ago in the middle of the pandemic, which turned out to be a great idea since it was e-commerce. We grew from, a small e-commerce business to now a true platform for all security and safety products. And so the idea, we're just going to keep growing, keep offering products to our potential customers in the security and safety space.
Yeah, makes sense. And so you guys are reselling top brands. How does that look as far as your strategy? How do you guys differentiate when I go look for security equipment? Why am I coming to you guys versus another one, or maybe even why am I going to your guys' site versus Amazon? Love to know kind of how you compete in the market.
So security and safety are two important things, and you cannot really play around with this kind of products just because a lot of the time it's safety is like clearly it's like you cannot play with life of people. So our strategy is to really have a team that is dedicated to knowing all of the products inside and out, being able to really assist people. A good testament of I would say our quality as a reseller and of security products is we have SpaceX that bought a couple of things from us. We get some big defense contractors. And the only reason is because people come to us, they say, here is my problem, or here is the issue that we're having, what can you do for us? What type of gate operators we need, what type of garage motors or warehouse door motors, or what type of harness, what type of alarm. And so we help people just buying products. So we even help people with looking at plans, construction plans, and then proposing a solution for these people. So we're not just like a basic retailer and just, using products and putting them on the website. Is really truly each product, each listing has the most amount of details. We check all of the listings that we put on the website to make sure that when people come to our platform and our website, they know that they are in good hands.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, that's what we've seen in the market, right? Is if you're going to compete against an Amazon and sell similar things or whatever it might be, or really just compete against other websites, it's about having that level of service. I see you've got the chat bubble on the website ready to go. You've got good navigation, top brands, like LiftMaster outlined right there. So it makes a lot of sense. When it comes to what you guys are working on this year, like what's next? I know you guys have been running, like you said, for a couple years now. You've got a lot of the baseline stuff going. You got big contracts with SpaceX and things like that. But what is the priorities this year? What are they? What's kind of going to be the driver of success this year?
So it's funny that we're here, but a big, I would say, thing that we're going to work on is going to be more integration with Flxpoint. The thing is that as we go, we realize that people are looking for specialized platforms. And so our idea is to really dive into that specialization on safety and security. And so we're going to try to really integrate as many suppliers as possible. So our goal is to get a partnership, I would say, with big brands, but also smaller brands that are, very efficient, bring in new products, new ideas, and good value for our customers. So we're actually working on a big integration with Flxpoint, a custom integration, which is very exciting once that will be up and running. I cannot say about it for now, but I'm very excited about it, and I'm very excited about it. It's going to be a really big integration. Actually, we have two in the works. There are two big integration with Flxpoint, and that's going to be some time, but I'm very excited with the potential results.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And just to talk more about that, obviously Flxpoint is going to help you with integrating, whether it's just a pre-built connection that we have, it's a us, our team, kind of helping build it, whether you guys are leveraging our API. Just remind me, are we building that integration for you guys? Are you guys building to our API? What typically for those two integrations? How are you guys approaching those?
So yeah, so this is through a supplier that is for once pretty advanced, I would say, on the tech side. And then Flexpoint's team is in with the supplier to build a connection between the two. So it's a white glove service, I would say, for us. We just had to make sure that we have all the information needed. So that's the work that we've done beforehand, and now Flexpoint's team is just taking over and finalizing all the integration.
Awesome. So the supplier is actually writing some of the integration to our API. Am I understanding that correctly?
No. It's Flexpoint that is
okay,
doing
great.
the whole thing. Yeah, and then we're just making sure that it's connecting with the API of the supplier, and making sure that we're getting product feed and order automation as well,
Cool.
which is
Yeah,
huge part.
I see the integration here, but I just never know which one it is, right? Because we see them both ways. We see it where the retailer's team or the supplier's team is building to our API, or you've contracted us out to build to EDI specs or API specs, or even a custom ERP type direct integration, whatever it might be. So interesting to see that for sure. Cool. And you guys have been with us for how long now on Flexpoint?
I would say maybe a year or a little bit over a year. But yeah, last year was really the I would say the beginning year, the testing year of looking at all the inventory source, built-in integration, and then see how we could benefit from that. And we connected actually you helped us identify a couple of suppliers, which was pretty funny, and kind of help us, find some I would say product lines that we grew, and we have one that is pretty successful actually. That was successful like right off the bat, which was really interesting. And so it's been a year, and we just keep adding. The only thing that's slowing us down is what I was saying in the beginning, is that we try to really bring quality rather than quantity. And so we have the quantity through Flexpoint and all the integration, but we're trying to bring quality to the listings. So our listings take a little bit more time because of the formatting, the details, and make sure everything is done properly. So that way we don't have, people being mad because the description was incorrect. We bring all the information. So when people come to the product page, they really do have all the information. So it's really one of the things that we focus on is quality over quantity.
That's great. And I'm looking at your account. So Shopify is your front end, correct? Shopify store?
Correct.
Is that the only place you're selling today? Do you sell anywhere else? Are you selling in any of the marketplaces?
Yes, because we also manufacture some products. So Amazon, we just use it for our own products, and the reason is, to me, Amazon is a love and hate relationship. Right. I feel that it's a good place to get volume, but then you're totally, enslaved by Amazon rules. So actually, when I bought the company, they were doing about $1 million on Amazon, and I decided to kind of pull the plug for until last year, and that didn't impact our revenue at all. And what I realized is that now a lot of the brands are becoming victim of Amazon tactics, where they put their products on Amazon, they sell to Amazon, and then they get stuck because they have to compete against themselves on Amazon. So Amazon is doing ads against themselves. So we do marketplaces, but it is really just to, I would say, bring brand awareness. We're not really trying to push anything, and we just try to make all the efforts to our website, so we control everything. We control pricing, and we own our customers' data as well. So that way, to me, it's a much more resilient business the way that we're doing it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you could build your own brand, have your own site and be driving customers there. That's really going to, be more sustainable long term. And congrats to you for getting off of the Amazon kind of channel to some extent. I mean, I've talked to a ton of resellers and brands out there who, that's like the 80% of their revenue, and they're trying to get the Shopify store, the big commerce store, off the ground. And it's hard because you're so focused on where the money's coming in at that specific time. So it's interesting to kind of see that it's like a success story, if you ask me, because everyone kind of wants to. Everyone knows in the back of their head that I need to be building my own brand. I need to be differentiating in the market, driving people to my site versus being kind of stuck on Amazon. So congrats on being able to do it.
It's not easy. It's not fun, and it takes time.
Yeah.
So it's just about day in and day out doing what needs to be done, and kind of, measuring, I would say, month after month the results. But we've come a long way since, if you go to the Wayback Machine, there is a website called the Wayback Machine or something like that. It's
Yeah.
and you look at all security equipment from 3 years ago, you're going to be laughing.
Yeah.
It was so bad, the website. But
I love doing that. We do that with both our inventorysource.com and our Flexpoint. And inventorysource.com is almost 20 years old, so it's been really interesting to see the progressions there, the different color schemes and logos and everything. So you touched on it a little bit earlier, but you bought the business, right? And so can you talk, I think that's super interesting for a lot of our audience, learning about buying the business. How did you evaluate the opportunity there? Can you just talk about that process of buying the business?
yeah, so actually it was a bit of luck, I would say. So for the entrepreneurs, that are listening to the podcast, I acquired through something called a search fund, which is a way of buying businesses where you find money from other entrepreneurs, basically, or investors. And then from there, you look for a business. So I got lucky because I found this business pretty quickly, and it was like literally on Biz by Sale, which is a little bit hilarious when, you're supposed to kind of find outreach ways and this and that. And this business looked interesting. And when we looked at it, it was a pretty good business. The evaluation, we did it, I would say like it's typical evaluation. Try to make sure that, between the debt and between the revenue and the projections of the business, it was making sense financially. And then after we just, worked with the seller and did the transaction, and the rest is history.
What was the tech stack that you inherited to the tech stack you have now? Is it roughly the same? It sounds like you added Flexpoint, but I mean that's what I usually hear. You kind of come in and clean house on the tech stack, right? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So what happened is that the business was run by a person who's been running the business for 10 years and never changed anything in 10 years almost. So I bought the business 2020. I think the last time they refreshed the website was 2010, something like that, or 20, I don't know. I think the website was almost 10 years old. The cart was called, I don't remember. Every time I would talk about the cart system, they would be like, never heard about it.
Was it tomato cart? I remember there was tomato cart there for a bit.
No, it was like a 3D cart or something like that. But even their 3D website was like super old.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then the accounting system and ordering system was like a software that was not even on cloud. It was like, local, installed on a server that was a USB hard drive, a network USB hard drive. Yeah. And so I arrived, and first day I implemented an ERP called Odoo, which is a cloud. It's like it's going to be the new ERP for any small and medium companies. In the next 5 years, everybody will be using Odoo basically. Because it's very versatile. It's Python based, open API, open source. So it's really easy to integrate with it. So first day, that's what I did, which was a good and a bad idea at the same time, because I did not sleep too much the first month. Okay. And then, so we did that. ERP, migrated everything to Shopify. change all the phone system to first one that didn't work, and then Zoom phone. So our phone system is Zoom, which is, if people are looking for phone system, it's really amazing. And then after that, we did all the connection with the software, the website. So we have tons of apps. We have Flexpoint, Feedonomics for the feed. So yeah.
Great.
We did a lot. Basically, it was like we took what was there, but we kind of redid everything.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I know people love to hear that, because that's always one of the biggest questions people have. Like, I've got this current stack, I bought this business, or I just haven't made any innovations in our tech stack in a while. What's a good fit across all the different apps you see out there? Because it's kind of tough to tell. I mean, people talk about what's the difference between Feedonomics and Flexpoint, right? And those get overlapped, but there's a lot of cases where we work with Feedonomics to, they help
Oh yeah.
really well with the listing side of things, right? And then we're kind of on the fulfillment side. And, there's definitely some overlap on both of our companies, but you can definitely see if you're picking best in breed why you'd have Flexpoint handling the dropship integration side, the order routing, the syncing of inventory quantities, things like that. And you've got Feedonomics, I assume, for kind of your multi-channel management. Can you talk a little bit about how you use Feedonomics?
Yeah, but Feedonomics, we just use it to send the product feed to Google Ads, Facebook, and
Yep.
Bing. And the reason why because there are tons of apps in Shopify that do that. The thing is, with Feedonomics, you get a team of like the best in the business for feed management, for ads, and it's like having a team of people, that cost the price of somebody offshore, but you get like engineers that manage your feed, make sure everything works well, make sure you don't have any issues with Google, make sure that all the products are showing up properly. So we use it more as a peace of mind, because our goal is to get to 100,000 SKUs. So we're about like halfway there now, and couldn't do it, without Feedonomics watching over our product feed. But yeah, Flexpoint and Feedonomics to me is two different complete solution, where you guys are more on like on the product side, and I would say, before the website, back end, and then Feedonomics would be more on the front end with the bringing the ads, making sure the shipping matches, because also the products we sell are very complex with the shipping. Feedonomics, I now that I use them, I could not really do without them. And
That's
same
awesome.
with Flexpoint too.
That's great. Yeah, exactly. We take care of the fulfillment source integrations. We get into one central system, push it up to Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, wherever it might be, and then Feedonomics takes it from there, right? Make sure that all of your ad networks are optimized and things are being listed up there. So it makes complete sense. I love the journey. I love the approach of buying the business and kind of cleaning house. One of the first questions I always like to ask is like, what was the main challenge you were facing to bring you to Flexpoint? It sounds like it's integration, but can you just talk a little bit about, when you were looking for a Flexpoint, what was going through your mind when you started that search? What was the problem you're looking to solve?
So our goal was that, we had a good business, and then the point is always to try to grow the business. So the idea is that, like, how do we grow the business? What can we do to grow the business? And so we start looking at solution of, integrating with suppliers. And then that was during a Google search. We got a couple of businesses. We got a couple of, solution. And when we start looking at Flexpoint, we're like, that makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting. So I think we found inventory source first. And then from there, we got put in touch with Anthony at Flexpoint and say, hey, inventory source is good, but we have something even better, which is called Flexpoint. And then so we looked at it and we're like, okay, we need to try that. So, the only thing is I would tell everybody is Flexpoint is amazing, but make sure you have somebody that can dedicate a good amount of time to understanding and setting up, I would say, the framework of Flexpoint. But once that's done, it's really, really nice.
No, that's great. Yeah. We've heard that same thing over and over again. And, from our side, we actually have a lighter version of Flexpoint to help that bridge that gap from inventory source to Flexpoint. that we will be rolling out at some point early this year. So yeah, I completely agree because all the power and the robust features within Flexpoint that make it so valuable to our customers. That takes a little bit of learning that new structure, understanding that, and like you said, configuration. So I think that's a fair point there. Awesome. And so how do you guys use it today? Like can you talk about where it's maybe saving you time, money, driving revenue, like the day-to-day use of it? Just curious on how you guys use it.
So yeah, so to be very frank with you, I do not go in Flexpoint that much because I really do now have a team working on it.
Yep.
So for us, we have now, so we have three integration or four integration plus a fifth one coming that we're working on. And the great thing for us is that we don't have to process the orders with a couple of vendors, which is good because it's lower price point. So, processing the POs and everything can be time consuming. So it's really that. It's also making sure we have the inventory sync with Shopify with all of the vendors. So that's great. Everything gets updated in time. And then whenever we want to onboard a couple of products, once we create that framework, we can really push a lot of products to the website. And that really also, it's just, leveraging everything we try to do. I don't know about 10x, but I would say, yeah, a couple of X where, we have only 2 people managing. I don't know how much business, but it would take 5 people to do what they're doing with 2. And not necessarily, it's offshore team. So I would say the beginning is a heavy lifting. And then after that is really smooth sailing once we set up everything in Flexpoint.
No, that's great. That's great to hear. And that's super interesting for me. One of the first quotes we ever got when we rolled out Flexpoint was, my orders are currently doubling. I had 2 people managing orders, and while they were doubling, I was able to drop down to 1 person and move that other person into a different role. And so it's always interesting to hear how people view Flexpoint as really allowing them to save on headcount costs for one, or move people from like a pure order management role into a more strategic role. So super interesting on that. Yeah, and then what would you like to see from us this year, Alexander? Like where can we help you more? Is there any kind of wish list, any roadmap type stuff that you'd love to see from us?
That's a good question. I should have prepared that.
I know. I don't know if we said it or not. We update these questions a little bit, but yeah. I mean, if you don't have anything on the spot, I'd love to hear more because that's one of the things we're
No, I
looking
would,
for.
yeah. One of the things that for us is the biggest issue is I would say that it depends of the vendors, but some of them are organized, some of them are not as organized. And so it can be a little frustrating when, we're trying to gather, as we say, like, about quality. And some of the vendor, they don't push the same information on their platform or like on the product listing that they're giving us and what they push on Flexpoint. So I would say, if we could have the same on both sides,
Yeah.
I would say that would be like my biggest ask. But it's not really on your side. I would say it's more on like your, vendor relation side of things.
Right.
But that really would be it.
No, that's helpful. So it's basically what you're referring to is, a supplier you're working with, you go to their website or the B2B portal that you log into, you've got this perfect, product listing, and there's images and descriptions and bullets and everything. And then they provide a feed to you and to us via us, right? And that feed is nowhere close to that, right? So yeah, I mean,
I would say it's like, it can be like 80%. So
right.
it's always pretty good, but it's 80%. So, we're going to miss this. So why don't we have that? Why don't we don't have, and sometimes it's like features, and so there is that. And then there is the, how we call it, the massaging of the listing. As Flexpoint was great is that you have the feed and you can transform it into the listing that you want, and then you push the product to Shopify. So I would say, there is always the AI thing that everybody's talking about. That could be something interesting where we could, say, hey, make sure that because also same thing with the feed is not necessarily like SEO optimized or whatever, but to have something where we can say like, take all the feed do this amount of words, SEO optimized, change the saying a little bit, make it more personal, this, that, and then have the, I don't know, ChatGPT or whatever, change that to a more SEO optimized listing.
100%. We have thought about that specific scenario when every CEO in a tech company saying, "How do I integrate AI?" We've thought that's like the number one that pops up. Like, how do we take the data that we're receiving, augment that with AI? The reason why we haven't pursued it yet is it seems that BigCommerce is about to release that feature. Shopify, I think, has released that feature, and we're really trying to make a decision on do we do that or does the channel do that? Who's already kind of got a head start there. We're evaluating where we can add value with the specific data we have that the channel won't get, and where we can leverage AI. But that's also interesting to hear because that is seems like a big pain point where AI can help.
Yeah, but it's just, what you want with your website is always to have it as SEO optimized as possible. It's always the same thing. Is that's the work of any e-commerce owner, is to make sure that your website is as visible as possible without ads. And so, of course, when you get, custom content,
Yeah.
it's always better, than if it's just a repeat of everybody else's content. That also counts.
So if I heard you correctly earlier, the big play this year and kind of what you guys are betting on is expand your product catalog, integrating more vendors via Flexpoint and expand. Are you expanding to new categories? Are you just deepening the categories you're in with different brands? What is kind of
Both.
this upcoming year? Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
through
yeah, it's
integrations. And
both.
are you working with distributors and both, right? Distributors and brands, and are you focusing one side or
Correct.
the other? Yeah.
Yeah, correct. We discovered, we have two integration from inventory source, the Ingram Micro, and then Scan Source.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working with Scan Source, which is pretty complex if you wanna make it work well. And it's not on your side; it's really on the Scan Source side. It's pretty, I would say, convoluted way of doing business. But once you get the right way of doing, I think it's going to be a very interesting partner to have.
Okay, great, great. What else? Anything else that you've seen? I mean, you've been in the market now for a while. What do you guys feel? Any future predictions on e-commerce or retail or any kind of changes or shifts you're feeling in this next year or two?
It's always the stress of what's going to happen with I would say, and search. Everybody, saying one thing, and then the next week is another thing. And then, so that's one thing that, I'm always looking out for and trying to figure out what can we do. And then to me, that's our plan is really to work on our brand and to be, independent. As I said, like, I'm trying to figure out a way how to convince people to not be, I would say, enslaved to Amazon and the platforms, which unfortunately is gonna happen. But with ideas like Flexpoint, Feedonomics, and all this, technology that we can leverage on your own web, I feel like it's a a more sustainable way to have your own business. And I've seen bad stories. I heard people that I know that kind of getting totally squashed by Amazon fees, and they're gonna close their business because they didn't do any efforts on their own website. So just keep pushing on our side, using Amazon for what it is, but keep finding everything we can do to grow our website through other technologies and businesses.
Yeah, awesome. Well, it was great, Alexander. I appreciate the time. A lot of insightful stuff. Anything we didn't touch on that we should have, or did we kind of cover it?
No, I know it's. I think we talked about everything, and really why we're happy. I'm happy to be here and talking to you. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, Flexpoint was really like a really good find for us, and we're very excited. And actually, we've been now working for it for about a year, and this year is going to be the year where we're going to push more through Flexpoint because it's a business that is, helping other businesses I would say, at a fair price for what it does. And for sure, you need to take the time to understand it. But once that's done, it's amazing what you can do. It's just after it's like it's your imagination. That's really the limit of the system. That's how we see it. It's like we have so many ideas. Now it's like time of setting it up, finding the suppliers and the people to really, get everything started.
I love it. We built it to be flexible. That's the first time I've ever heard. It's just as it can go as far as your imagination can take you. So love to hear
But
that.
look at us. We did a custom integration that, I'm not going to talk about it because it's custom and it's kind of our secret between Flexpoint and all security equipment. But it's cool. I'm very excited, to have something like that it would take years and years and years to do a system like yours.
Well, I love it, Alexander. I appreciate the time. Thank you for the kind words. Everyone go check out allsecurityequipment.com. It's a great site. You get on a great job with it. So appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the Modern Merchant Podcast.
Have a good day.